Verse 1. When thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots, and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. All right, so let's talk military terms here. You're going out, you see the army that you're going to have to fight against. You see the troops, right? If they're foot soldiers, we call those infantry. If they're on horses, they are cavalry, right? A little song, marching the infantry. And if they got chariots, they're heavy cavalry, right? So, tanks today. If you're standing there and you see people there are more of their foot soldiers, they have more horses and more chariots, what are you inclined to do? Go, ah! The odds of me dying feel very high, right? I'm outnumbered and I'm outgunned. The instruction is when you're in that situation, be not afraid of them. Why? For the Lord, L-O-R-D, all caps, for Jehovah, thy God, is with thee. All right? That's, that secret weapon you can't see. And then it gives you the reminder, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And that is a shorthand allusion to all the power that God demonstrated as he thoroughly whooped a very powerful country. I mean, when you fought against Egypt, Israelites, did you set your battle in array and just have this awesome battle? No, you didn't do anything. God did it all. He decimated them. And by the time the Red Sea finished drowning all of, the best of Pharaoh's army, how many were still alive? None. So this is the God of all the universe who specifically chosen you and told you to go and do these things. He's with you. You don't have to be afraid of these forces that you see. Very contrary to what the natural man is going to be like, oh, I can see the enemy. Well, remember that the Lord is on their side. So this is Moses giving instruction to the Israelites how they are to govern themselves in battle. And it shall be, when you are come nigh unto the battle, all right, come nigh. What's it mean to be nigh, Patrick? Close, all right? You're getting close to the battlefront. And it's time to get ready to fight. Someone's going to give a pep talk. Is it going to be the general? No. It's going to be a priest. Right? The priest shall approach and speak unto the people. He shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts faint. Fear not, do not tremble, neither be ye terrified because of them. That kind of covers the whole gambit, right? I mean, your knees are not, y'all ever had to get up and give a speech? Your knees go to shaking, right? Your body can have a trembling effect when you're so full of fear, right? Don't let your hearts faint, right? When your hearts are faint, you can't even, muster up the courage to go forward and fight. Don't fear, don't tremble, neither be ye terrified, all right? Out of your mind with fear. Why? For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. Right? Is this your traditional military pep talk? Come on! There's more of us than them. No, there's not. We're stronger than they are. No, we're not. Y'all are some of the bravest men I know. No, you're not. This is not your Mel Gibson. This was, I'm reminding you the truth of the ability to win this battle is not contingent upon you as men, but upon the God that we're serving. And he is the one who's going to do the fighting for you, and he is going to save you. He is going to deliver you.
This could be a reason for life, right? I mean, not only for a war, but everyday life.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes it feels like a war when you're waking up in the morning, but
if we put ourselves perfectly.
Yeah. And remembering that whatever battle you're going to face today, that the reason there's deliverance from is not from your own intellect, skill, or anything about you, but you're trusting the Lord as your refuge and your deliverer. Yeah, there's a lot of confidence in that. All right. So that's your first thing. That's your pep talk. Rules for war: don't give in to fear. Let the priest do the talking, and he's going to remind you of this truth. And then the officers are going to come up with some really strange questions. All right, the officers shall speak unto the people. All right, you got the whole mass of your army. Raise the hands. What man's here that's built a new house and hasn't dedicated it? Ooh. Dedicating a ship. You break the champagne bottle on it. It's now, all right, we're using it the first time. If you've built a house and you haven't slept in it yet, and people raise their hands, he said, go on home. What? We're already outnumbered and you want to send people home? Yeah, that's what he's saying. Let him go home, return to his house. Why? Lest he die in the battle and another man dedicate it. Okay? So that guy who's built a house and hasn't had the opportunity to even sleep in it, to dedicate it, whatever that was entailed in that culture, let him go home, lest he die today and doesn't have the opportunity to do that. Well, what about someone who's anyone planted a vineyard and you've not yet eaten of it? All right, how long does it take between planting a vineyard and eating of it? I don't know. I mean, a vineyard, they're grapes, vines, I don't know. But I mean, there's some labor and there's some time. And so if you have not enjoyed any harvest from that labor, he's saying, let him go home too. Return unto his house, lest he die of battle and another man eat of it. We got two groups that are now heading for the exits. And then the officers go, what man is there that hath betrothed a wife? That means gotten engaged. And hath not taken her, hasn't, made her his wife, made it, become man and wife, been married. Let him go and return unto his house, lest he die in battle and another man take her. All right, you got these three groups of people with, let's call them pressing distractions. And then God is showing mercy to each of those things, each of those categories, and saying, you're not the one that I want to fight today. Later, but not today. You go, dwell in that house, marry that woman, enjoy the fruits of that vineyard. You'll fight another time. And so those three groups all get to go home. This is not, we're going to guilt you into staying. This is, you've already worked your 40 hours, but if you really love the company, you're going to work another 20 for free. Right? This is these groups, God's saying, you're not needed. How many does God need to win a battle?
No.
Yeah. As far as man terms, none. But many times he uses a small number. Right? Abraham, when he went to fight that massive regional army that came all the way from Babylon, he had 300 some odd servants. And this is a group that had conquered city after city after city after city. Gideon, later, when he's fighting this army that's like, you're looking out and it's like ants covering the ground. And he had so many, and God said, no, you got too many. If you win, you'll take credit for yourself. Send some home. And he sent some more home, and God sent some more home. And they got down to about 300 men. All right? And you got 300 fighting this massive, massive host. There's no way those 300 men can be so delusional to think that they've done it on their own. So you've got those three categories of folks who are, I think the pattern there is distracted. Some other pressing business that God's showing mercy to, that they can go and do those things and avoid this particular battle. Now, later in Deuteronomy 24 and 5, we'll also see that, so that guy who's gone, who's engaged and has married the woman, he's actually excused from battle for a whole year. Go home and cheer up your wife. And that, he'll be called on. So, kind of like when we have drafts, there's only so many eligible pools. Well, someone who's been married for that first year after their marriage, they're excluded from being eligible to serve. All right. So our force is now smaller. All right? We've had our pep talk. We're not afraid, but we've seen the guys who've got houses and vineyards and fiancés, they're all troops enough home. Now the officers ask some more strange questions. They speak further into the people and say, what man is here that is fearful and faint-hearted? I mean, got to have a little bit of courage to raise your hand at that question, right? Somebody who's here who really doesn't want to be here, who's looking at this force, and you're just scared and trembling, you can go home too. Let him go and return unto his house. Why? Lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his heart. So here you've got your presence is going to be a net negative to the overall army. We would rather you not be here. Now, this is very different than the rules in relative modern warfare, where if you're leaving for cowardice, World War II, they'd shoot you for that. This is desertion. Now, this is not desertion. This is you're being told to go. So they're not just fleeing on their own. But they wanted those who were going to be able to stand confidently that the Lord was on their side. Because if you're there full of fear, who are you not trusting in to deliver the battle? You're not trusting in God. So, send them home. Okay, so we already had a smaller force. It's now gotten smaller by these 4 different groups. What do we do next? Verse 9 says, "It shall be, when the officers have made an end of speaking unto the people, that they shall make captains of the armies to lead the people." All right? Well, whatever organization you had before you got there, you've now got to recalibrate because you just lost a chunk of folks. And so you've got to designate, all right, here's your new subgroups. And so it's getting reorganized after you've lost those 4 categories of individuals. So make them captains. These are your leaders. Today it'd be fire team leaders and squad leaders and platoon and battalion. However, they divvy it up so people know who to look to for instructions. All right. So that's 1 through 9. These are your logistics, your pep talk, who's excused from service, who needs to go home, and then getting organized. Now, verse 10 is not when you're attacking a foe that's out in front of you in an army, but you are attacking a city. What are the rules there? "When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it." Now, I'll admit, the first time I read that, I was confused. I was like, what? What do you mean you're coming to a city and you're proclaiming peace? You're coming to fight. What does that mean? You are giving them an opportunity to completely surrender. All right? You're not going to be sneaky. You're not going to, attack them without speaking. You're giving them an opportunity to yield. So if they take that, it will look like this. It shall be, if they answer thee of peace, if they make an answer to thee of peace, okay, we want peace. We don't want to fight. And they open unto you. That means they've opened up the gates. You get to voluntarily come in. Then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. What's a tributary, Connor?
Somebody who pays money to them, not being killed.
Yeah, someone who pays money to them and they're not killed. So that's, you now, because they voluntarily surrendered, they make payments to you going forward, but you don't kill anybody. All right? You honor what you said. You gave them an opportunity to live, and they all survive. And they, become servants to the nation of Israel. There's another side of the coin, is that you say, will you surrender? And they say, no way, we're going to fight. Well, the consequence is that you then fight them. You make war against them, and thou shalt besiege it. Besieging is where you've surrounded the city, and you either starve them out or you make an incursion over the city walls. Because any city worth its salt at this point has walls and it has gates, right? Open villages aren't easy to defend. And if people were invading, people who lived in the villages would go flee to the towns that had walls and cities because you had a chance of surviving. So you're encircling the city and you're besieging it. And when the Lord thy God hath delivered into thine hand, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. All right, so there's the carrot and the stick. You can surrender, and if you do, you all survive. You have to pay us money. If you choose to fight, the consequence that God is saying is that every male, adult male in that city will be executed. They won't survive. 0. The women and the children and the cattle, they all survive and they become spoil. Spoil meaning the plunder, what you get. Thou shalt take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thy enemies, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Going to a story from much later with Israel's first king, Saul. He was told to attack a nation. He was told to attack the Amalekites, and he was told to wipe them out. Well, he conquered, but who did he spare? The king, the high-ranking political prisoner, and he also spared a lot of the animals, the good stuff that God had told them in that case to wipe out. But here, even without the secondary judgment that God was given to that particular people, because they had actually attacked Israel when they were in the wilderness, and God waited like 500 years before he brought judgment down on their head for that. And so Saul was supposed to be executing that judgment. Well, he didn't fully. But even under this standard, all the males in that attack would have had to be killed, or he was disobeying. So he disobeyed multiple aspects of the law. That was my only point. So it's either you voluntarily surrender, you all survive, and you become tributaries, where you pay something to Israel, or you fight them. And when you win, the males are put to death, and the women and the children and the cattle, they are captives and taken. All right? Now, this is a general rule that only applies to nations, to cities outside of the boundaries of Canaan. Right? God had told them from here down at the river towards Egypt, all the way up here, the northern portion, just south of Lebanon. Everything in there is your territory that I'm giving you, and the rules in there is everyone has to be put to death. Right? He's bringing judgment upon them. All manner of vile sins that they've been engaging in, including human sacrifices, and it's vile. And so the general rule for them in verse 16, within that territory, the cities of these people, which the Lord thy God doth give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth. All right, so these people were to be completely wiped out. Our standard? Yes, it is. And so this rule about opportunity for peace or tributes was only for outside of your borders. All right, so this is really not going to come into play until like David's day, when they've fully conquered Canaan, and now they're starting to make incursions into other territories. And then later in Solomon's day, when they had this wide economic, political control. Solomon wasn't much of a fighter. David did all that, but he had economic influence that was very, very broad. So within Canaan, everyone was put to death. Outside the cities, you had the opportunity for survival if you voluntarily surrendered. So which peoples were, God was condemning to death? Thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. Right, so these are his explicit instructions. Right? This is like God as a judge has condemned them, and they are operating as an executioner. Why? Well, verse 18. That they teach you not to do after their abominations. If you spare them, you will learn of their ways, and you will do all these vile things that are disgusting to God, and they're evil and reprehensible. And Israel did just that. They let these pockets of people live, and then they started following their practices, and then they got off into these gross forms of idolatry. So the thing that God warned them about, because they didn't obey, that's exactly where they followed through to. So we don't want to learn their abominations, which they have done unto their gods, so should ye sin against the Lord your God. So following the practices of those cultures would be sin before the Lord. All right, last 2 points in the rules of war. Short-term gain versus long-term cost. When thou besiege a city a long time in making war against it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them. And thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. Only the trees which thou knowest that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy, cut them down, and thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee, until it be subdued. Right. If you're at the city, and they've got all these orchards over here, maybe they got pecan orchards, right? We need to build ramps to get up the city walls, or something to pin them in. We need wood. God's saying, don't take the fruit-bearing trees and chop them down for that short-term gain. He says, he's going to give you the city, and in the long run, you're going to want all of those things. So don't make that short-term benefit at the long-term cost. Spare all the fruit trees and use other wood rather than destroying it and wasting that long-term benefit of the wood. Rules of war for the Israelites. Again, this is God's very specific instructions for this nation of how you're going to how you're going to dress, how you're going to work, how you're going to wear your clothes, right? From Fiddler on the Roof, how everyone knows what God expects of them, even down to the manner in which you are to prepare for war, organize yourself, offer terms, who's eligible to offer terms, and what's the stick if they don't accept. And then this is very restrained, right? Men in warfare are more towards the scorched earth mentality. If I have to go through the trouble of beating you, I'm going to make sure that everything is wiped out. This is destroyed. I mean, we see a wicked king, at one point of that he's having to fight against a city, and he's so mad that they didn't open up to him. He took salt and he poured it in all their fields around. The parish, if I took salt and poured it in all your fields, are they ever going to grow anything? No, you're like permanently destroying the land out of spite. And so God is restraining man's baser, carnal instincts for vengeance and spite against them. So, Deuteronomy chapter 20. I'll turn off my camera and then see if